Okay. So, before I start my day here, I listen to this shit every day now. You can see what they're fucking doing here. And you know what? I'm telling you, you heard it from me. They're selling all these little condos to all these old people, 55 and older, that want to retire. This is the investment, wave of the future, multi-pack and stack fucking housing, right? Where all the little bungalows on this side of the street are being torn down as those people that are being basically forced out of their homes one way or another, whether the taxes are going higher or maybe they just don't want to be a little home between monster homes, or they're getting pressure from their family or whatever. They go off and sell their home if they're not being medically kidnapped and locked up forever, and then forced to sell their home. And then they go off and they buy one of these little things. Let me remind you people, 10%. 10% will be like Uncle John, where they're going to lose their assets by being illegally detained, illegally drugged, and the cycle will continue. I just want to put that 10% on this fucking little building that they're building here. 10%. That's all it takes. That's all they take, people, is 10%. Because if they take 10%, whether it's 10% of organs being harvested illegally, or whether it's 10% of old people being medically kidnapped, right? They think the general public doesn't notice it. That's what it is. Well, I'm here to remind you, 10% of the individuals buying these properties will disappear into the abyss like Uncle John. Speaking of an Uncle John.
What?
Okay, people. So anyway, it is October 20th. It is October 26, 2019. Yesterday I was off by like 2 days. Alright. Anyway, I am going to upload my little walk to the store with Andre before I started my day yesterday, because what ended up happening was it stopped raining, so I did go outside and I switched over some dirt and then transplanted these little grape seed plants that came from the red grapes that were given to me, and hopefully they'll catch. I don't know, it's hard to say. And then as I was outside, people, as I was outside, right? What do you call it? Working. I had two women and their beautiful dog, part Great Dane or something, big dog, come to my yard because they remembered me, right, from the little house. Every now and then, people will ask me if I have any housing available, any rooms, right? Sometimes they ask if I have like a whole little suite available, as if I'm like a magician, right? Sure, I got one over there. It's no problem. We'll hook you up right now. I was like, what are these people thinking? Right? But, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? So, anyway, I had a couple of women come to my house yesterday asking me if I had access to any housing. Because, in essence, what's happening is, and I'm going to phone them up today and I'm going to ask them, maybe they'll let me come and see this place. Because I want to go see this place. Because what's happening is it's owned by a Muslim from a different country. Right? Alright? You know, in with that building boom, it's not just Punjabis doing it. It's the Chinese, it's the Philippines, it's the Muslims from wherever they come from. The ones with money, right? Because the provincial government tends to bring in the elite of these third world countries. right? Canada is above these countries from where these people come in from. Oftentimes. Or they're severely overpopulated. So instead of helping the ones that really need help in the country, they're bringing in the ones that have money and education. So they're taking the elite, I don't want to say elite, but they're taking the, what is it called? You know, the upper class of the residents of a country, and they're coming here with their money and this and that and everything else that they've got. And it's obviously pushing out the lower class in Canada, which becomes a political genocide, right? I mean, I don't get it as much as I used to, but I still get it, people. People still come to me and ask me for housing, right? And I mean, I'm a nobody. Why are they asking me? Because I had one house that was just a boat with a bunch of holes in it that was going to sink anyway. Oh. So anyway. So obviously this person, this landlord, right? You know, he's got money because he owns a house. Probably came from some Muslim country. Probably was the upper elite, right? Because that's what Canada likes to bring in. They think that by bringing in these people with money, it's going to solve Canada's problems, which it does not, right? What it does is it overinflates the economy, and it allows criminal activity to flourish. There's another YouTuber that lives in Terrace, and I'll put a link to his channel in my description box, right? So that if you ever want to go listen to him, right, because he talks about the housing market in Canada, United States, where else is it? Australia, places like that, right? And you know, he knows what he's talking about. And like he has cited on his, you know, YouTube videos that Canada itself sustains its economy on the black market and on laundering money, people. With BC leading the pack because we're on the west coast and the weather is so nice and we have all these natural resources to exploit, including the people that live here. And that has nothing to do with race. Because what's going to end up happening is, as the Shemays die off and have their organs pillaged and their teeth robbed from their mouths, okay, sooner or later there's not going to be any Shemays left, right? What's going to be left is the kind that's moving into the country, taking over the country, and then what happens is they start to feed off of their own kind. So nobody is safe. Nobody. Just like Shemay's graduation certificate. It means nothing, people, if the children of this province, regardless of their ethnic heritage, are not safe to pursue their dreams and aspirations in life to be productive adults. And if some should fall through the cracks like Sierra, then there should be safety nets built in there to protect her, one, right? And to, you know, bring her to a state where she's functional and can exist within society, you know, versus she's in jail because she ran into Safeway, apparently. She's banned out of Safeway. She's seen somebody that she knew. She followed that person into Safeway because she's wandering around, you know, just bouncing here, bouncing there, really has no place to go. We know that. So she figures if she just connects with somebody that she knows, right? You know, give her that little sense of safety for a moment. And what happens? She gets arrested in Safeway and sent back to jail for breaching because she went to Safeway because she has no place else to go. Like, it's a vicious cycle. So anyway, she needs housing, right? She phoned me up on the phone last night from jail asking me if she can have Shemay's room, right? And I'm like, no, Sierra, you can't. But I'll be on Suboxone. If I go on Suboxone, can I have the room? And I'm like, no, you can't, Shmay, because one, we're sick. Everybody in this house, or we're still going through this shit, people. It hasn't stopped since Andre. It hasn't stopped. And it actually started before then, because in 2003, in January, under the BC Liberal government, and they're bringing in American-style welfare reform, where they just cut people off and throw them out onto the fucking streets. Well, that's basically what happened to my family 9 months before the legislation even was in effect, which was illegal. And then they rescinded on the legislation because it caused so much damage for so many people. And it was ethically and morally wrong, and it went to court. So the government rescinded on it, but the damage had already been done to my family because we lost our house that we had lived in for 8 years, Wally's house, right? And we went into that spiral down. But because I had founded the foundation and, I was required to prove to the federal government that I was using it actively within the community under the citation of the programs and the mission and the mandate of what the foundation was supposed to represent in terms of like building on children's programs, building on snack programs, building on lunch programs, building on community programs. So I was active from 2003 right up until basically 2009. Hardcore, people. I did park events. No. Just hold on, please. Anyway, I don't like being cut off like that because I don't remember what I was talking about other than, okay, from 2003 up until 2009, I was hardcore. Did park events regularly every year. Was out and about in front of businesses with the DJ equipment, communicating with the public as it was going in and out of the stores, right? Promoting the nonprofit and the mandate and the concept around, coming together and doing good things for the community, that kind of stuff, right? Building on a universal school meal program. That was the big one. But you can't build on a universal school meal program until you satisfy the basic needs of the community itself in terms of, well, I'm more concerned about this, or I'm more concerned about that, or I support this over here. So if that's the case, we'll build in all these trust accounts, everybody throwing $2 in each account. Before you know it, we'll all be rolling in the dough and everybody can work on what they want to work on. And then, because we're doing that, now we can start working on a universal school meal program. Versus depending on the provincial government and the federal government to do it for us, we can start building in a program to help bring it in for ourselves. And then that's when the government says, you can't do it by yourself. No, there's rules and regulations, and there's licensing fees, and, there's inspection this and inspection that, and it's got to be up to code, and, you ain't moving forward until we got our foot in through the fucking door. Well, if you're going to put your foot through the door, then you can put some money into it. So that's where that $160 million a year came in, times 10 years, to build in with the seed money. Okay, I stay true to the concept of what I wrote out in 2000, 2001, registered it. Now I'm going back in time here, okay? And that, because I did that, I now have people coming up and down, walking through the street, up and down my street, popping in and saying, hey, you got any housing? I need housing. Right? I'm being, the owner. Doesn't matter where the owner comes from, right? It's closing down the house. Shutting down the whole house. It doesn't matter if it's a 3-bedroom bungalow that technically is a 2-bedroom bungalow in terms of a rancher, that, technically you shouldn't have no more than 5 people in it, never mind freaking 9, and half of Surrey that are homeless, like I had, and then have a mutiny step in. Right? Or if it's a 4-suite duplex. All right, it could be a duplex, or it could be a one step up to those monster homes that are taking over. Right? In other words, it's not quite a monster home, but it's a fairly large home that's been cut into 4. Well, apparently that's what's happening. the owner of that place is evicting all 4 suites. Not just 1 suite, but all 4 suites, people. So that's 4 households being displaced. And as they're being displaced, they're being pushed out into a housing market that is completely unaffordable, that is being held up by laundered money through fentanyl sales and the death of human beings. With one of them being my daughter, who was murdered as it's being covered up by the fucking public union sector. But when I look back, I'm like, because I'm sitting here, people, like those things are gone. Those certificates are not on my wall anymore. They're out the door in somebody else's hands. And I'm thinking, are we dealing with a Martin Luther King here? Maybe. Because he's Punjabi. I don't know if he watches my videos. But anyway, this is the history of the nonprofit, right? And, you know, he knows I've been going through some rough patches. He's known me for a long time. He used to watch me work in the yard day after day, day after day after day. And he got curious. And I met him next door over there in a little garage sale. And because I had met him there, it was an opportunity to actually talk to him. And once I talked to him, of course I at some point say, hey, you know, would you be interested in helping me with the nonprofit? We're talking like 6-7 years ago, people. He signed on in 2013. We're in 2019. But it's a nonprofit that it's on a national, international level. It doesn't sound reasonable. You know, that's all taken care of by the, what is it called? The Red Cross, you know, and the United Way and you know, World Vision. You know, the international platform for nonprofits or foundations is already mapped out by the bigger organizations that have been around for 50 to 100 years. So when you're coming in up the ranks, like me, with just that goodwill in your heart, right? Thinking that you live in a province that has a strong union and that you're able to go off and be contributing something positive. That's because that's how it started, people. If I didn't feel like I couldn't be successful within my province to carry out the mandate of the foundation, I wouldn't have done it. Now, mind you, I was naive. I didn't realize how much corruption is actually in the real world. But I don't think the corruption that we have today was here 19 years ago. Right? I'm not saying there wasn't corruption, but it wasn't like to the level and to the degree that it is right now. Now it's out of control. And that's why I'm going to add in this other link to this other person that talks about how the Canadian economy is held up by laundered money and criminal activity and the black market through drugs, casinos, right? The housing market. Anything else that they can put their fingers in, including illegal organ harvesting, right? Which they mask over with the puppy and kittens, with the, oh, well, you know, they died, just donate the organs. You know, they died for a good cause. They died for the collective. No, they didn't die for the collective, people. They're being murdered off one way or another. And when the murder is right up in the fucking face of the fucking cops, they're still not doing shit about it. Okay? So, who wants to go back in terms of, I'm sitting here, I'm already done it, people. I've done the park events. I've done outside the businesses, right? You know, I've worked with the children for over 2 years, people. For over 2 years, I was in the courtyard with the children, with the parents. Many of them couldn't speak English. Now, those people loved me. Those people appreciated me. Because they came in from refugee camps where they got a jug of sour milk once a week to feed their family. Okay? Those people actually respected me. But when you get into these bigger fucking houses, no. But you see, this man that is growing into becoming a president, it's like a sound barrier. You know, you have to break that sound barrier, or you have to break that glass ceiling. I'm at the glass ceiling. I have been at the glass ceiling for a very long fucking time, but I just was never able to break it, people. Never able to break it. And I myself will never be able to break it. I can't go back and start all over again. I can't go back and start doing park events. I can't go back and set up in front of a business. I can't go back and hang out in the courtyard and, paint and play drums and have, water splash parks and whatever, make bird houses, have crafts, have snack. I can't do that anymore. Tug of war. I can't do that anymore, people. I can't go back. So if I can't go back, get to the point here, right? Why would I want those certificates back in my house? I don't. When the BC Liberal government cut me off of welfare in 2003 illegally, and when it goes to fucking court, the judge that's looking at that shit should investigate it. Okay? Because right now, I can tell you something. When they gave me back Andre, and I reminded them that it was their ministry that cut me off with 5 fucking dependent kids, looking after Uncle John, right? In the middle of fucking winter, and said, c'est la vie, because I couldn't go get a job to pick tomatoes all day and leave Uncle John with the 5 kids, right? You know what they tried to say? Oh, well, you chose to go off of welfare. I said, no, I didn't. You fucking cut me off. You're not you, but your ministry just cut me off. They cut me off in January. I was out of my house by the middle of February. Wally gave me an extra 15 days to clear out the rest of the shit because I had been there for 8 years. And I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment that was leaking water all over the place. Lived there for 3 months. It was a fucking nightmare. I put everybody's bed. The boys had their own room. Everybody had a bed. Uncle John called it the Little Yellow Submarine. Right? So it was Uncle John, Brooks, and Marcaine. I was in the other room with Sierra, can't even remember. Sierra, Shimei, Tisha, and me. But I had to prove that I had secondary housing for Sierra somewhere else and for Brooks somewhere else, because under the fire code, they didn't want that many people listed on their lease, right? So I had to list Sierra and Brooks at different locations, made sure they had beds over there, but it encouraged them to come home and be at home, even though it was a 2-bedroom apartment that was leaking like a sieve because of pipe problems in their bathroom and shit. And I worked on a nonprofit, people. And then after the 3 months, I moved us into that shanty shack. I looked after that little girl for free for the Ministry of Children and Family Development for the whole duration that I lived there, because if I wouldn't have done that, they were going to take the child away from the mother because she severely had schizophrenia problems and all this other crap going on with her. And I worked on the nonprofit. Then I moved myself into that apartment specifically so that I could put myself around a bunch of people and work on the nonprofit. And that's how I got into the courtyard with all those children, with many of them coming in from refugee camps, right? And with their parents not speaking English. As I had to face racism from white people that lived in there that thought that they could act like fucking bullies and just be party poopers. Because they didn't want the children and the families to have fun. Not all the white people, but there was a band of them. And then that's when I realized how fucked up white people really are. You could be dirt fucking poor and you still want to be fucking miserable and think that by being miserable, you can control people. It's just stupid. But it's like that what my son says. Everybody's like that. Doesn't matter. But the more money you have, the worse it gets. Right? So, you know, and I did. I secured the trademark. I did my job, people. Right? Foundation probably owes me $37,000. Right? Well, I think it's 20. It'd probably be about 28,000 now on the books. But I didn't claim everything. So it'd well be over 40,000. But it never was about money. Right? So we'll just round it off at 28 grand. The foundation owes me in terms of my expenses that I paid out in the last 19 years that I'd like to get back at some point. Assuming that this president becomes president, like in terms of like this board director decides that, you know, he really just wants to be president, right? You know, he's growing into it. He hasn't come to me and say, that's it, I'm president, back off. Thing is, he's a Punjabi man, right? And he says to me, you know, because I remind him I do YouTube videos, and again, I don't know if he watches my YouTube videos, but, you know, Punjabis are a very close network community in terms of, so if there's one or two out there that don't like me, which we know that there is, because they don't like taking criticism of any kind, right, as a collective, right, who knows? All I know is that people are going to cast judgment on him, one, because he's Punjabi, right? And just in light of what's going on with all this corruption, right, within the province, not even in the community, it's in the province and country that's coming in with the immigration population. Okay? Not being race specific, because they're coming in from different directions, right? From different countries. But when you start to add it all up, it ends up being into the billions and billions and billions of dollars that are being laundered through this province through white-collar criminal activity, which means white-collar is not race-specific. It just means it's a different level of criminal activity that allows for things like illegal organ harvesting to happen among a killer drug out in the community that is like, it's like a dispensary, you know? You allow so much fentanyl out every 2 months so that it just kills off the right number, right? The right amount of people that you need to process through the hospitals. Because if they put too much out at one time and there was a mass die-off, then the general public would wake up and start screaming. Because they would see how close death is to their door, right? But they don't want to draw attention to themselves, people. And this is why I'm doing this video right now, because I should put this first, and then you should listen to that little walk, or maybe I'll put the little walk that I had with Andre first. I don't know. Right? Probably this, because it kind of gives you the interlude to that walk. Because yesterday I was going to walk to the store, right? Come back in. It was raining. I was going to go into my sewing room. Well, it turned out it stopped raining. I walked to the store, and as I was walking past the field where they cut down those 110 trees in 3 days, right? You know, I'm like going on and on about that 10%. that 10% that the public union sector and their affiliates, whether it's the banking system or, you know, some other corporation, you know, they're not going to come in and kill off 80% or 60% or even 50%. If there was a mass die-off of 50% in a period of a month, what do you think that the remaining 50% would do? They'd go nuts. They would become, you know, getting their weapons by any means necessary. It wouldn't matter if it was a fucking stick or a fucking rock or a freaking gun or whatever. Everybody would be running around protecting themselves if all of a sudden within 1 month, 50% of the population died off. The other remaining 50% would want to protect themselves. But because it's only happening on a 10% level at best, the other 90% are sleeping. And if they're not sleeping, they're taking things for granted. Or they're participating in that 10% of activity that's of a criminal nature, right? This is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, Uncle John, those people moving into that old folks' home, they're only going to take 10% and illegally detain them, seize their assets, keep them drugged, right? Fuck their families over, and those people will have an early death from all that stress. So the other 90% moving into that building, right, where all those trees were cut down and displaced not only the animals and the birds, but they displaced, you know, the human beings to set up a situation that's supposed to be good for the elderly. It's supposed to be good for the elderly. But when you go into the belly of it, you see that there's 10% that are very, very vulnerable. One, because nobody talks about it, right? And people oftentimes are not aware of it because they take everything for face value, especially if it relates to money, right? So it must be a good thing if it keeps people employed. But I'm reminding the people that work out there that, you know, they're just building something that's just making it easy for the criminals in the community to pluck out 10% of those elderly and do what they did to Uncle John. Well, fentanyl is the same way. They're not going to come in and flood the community with so much fentanyl that it's going to kill off 50% of the population. Because if they did that, then the other 50% would fight back. They're only going to take 10%, and we're at that 10% level. Right? And because there is corruption involved, you know, terrible, terrible things are happening. So in light of that, how can I go back, people? How can I go back to where I was promoting the nonprofit like I used to? I can't. I can't break that sound barrier of the different types of racism that I come across within my own community. Whether it's from white people, rich or poor, whether it's from Chinese people, or whether it's from Philippine people, or whether it's from fucking people from somewhere else, doesn't matter, you know, Czechoslovakia or whatever, it doesn't fucking matter, right? Or whether it's people from Punjabi as a collective. Because when you're in the courtyard with vulnerable children and vulnerable families, and you've got nothing to give them except your time and your goodwill in good faith, right? You know, you're not going to get too far in life, people. Right? By yourself. And that's why I can't go back, because I would be by myself. I was by myself then, and I'm still by myself. That's why it's important for this board director to become president, right? Because I am by myself. He is not. He is not by himself. He speaks, I think, 4 different languages, so he can reach out to 4 different ethnic groups where if I'm standing there, those groups are looking at me like I'm the enemy, right? Because I'm by myself, right? And that's what makes my family vulnerable in terms of within those groups, there's criminal activity that looks for the vulnerable in people and exploits them for profit. Because for some reason, so many people seem to think that the only value in life is to how much assets that you have in terms of property and that type of stuff, right? The Chinese are very much that way. You know, I don't understand how the provincial government can allow foreign nationals, Chinese people mainly, and the federal government is doing this too, to, you know, bring in investment from these people that come from countries that have no religion. And for the ones that do have religion, they get their organs harvested while alive. And this is what Canada is wheeling and dealing with in terms of politicians. As they're inviting these people to move in and buy up properties, leave the houses empty as they flood the community, okay? And it's not just Chinese flooding the community with fentanyl. It's a little more complicated than that, right? But at a 10%, where only 10% is slivered off, whether through accident, suicide, or straight up murder, it doesn't matter. It brings in the bodies so that the next level of criminal activity in terms of organ harvesting can occur, which is another industry and, you know, moneymaker. Another means to launder money. Launder money. How can I go back and do park events, people? I have no money. I have no car. I have no resources. Half my family's gone, right? I have a sick child, right? Depressed kids, right? You know, my life is hanging on a thread, right? After I leave this house, where am I going to go? I'm going to be walking by my own house saying, hello, hello, do you have any housing for me? It will be me walking by my house. Because the elite have corrupted this province, so much so for their lust for money, right? That, I don't know. So anyway, this board director, you know, you got to kind of see him like a Martin Luther King who won't get shot, right? Who won't get shot, right? Or maybe a Malcolm X who won't get shot, right? You know, somebody like that can break that sound barrier, you know, that glass ceiling, right? To keep moving forward with the nonprofit. I mean, he's got all of Canada and all of the United States in the palm of his hands, people. This man, does he realize how much power he really has in his hands? I think that's why it's taken so long for him to grow into it. I think first, initially, it scared him. Right? Because he can go. He can network. He can do all kinds of things, people. Right? Because I can't go back. I can't start all over again. I just can't. But what I can do is I can phone up those women and see if they'll let me come by with my Mayor X hat on. It's funny that I should put this on yesterday and they show up at my door asking for housing and do a video on the situation of 4 suites being evicted all at one time into a housing market that you can't afford anything, right? And because they have a dog, it's even going to be harder for them. Oh, and I love this dog. Oh, this dog is such a cool dog. His master wanted to put the leash on him, right? Or something, because, you know, he was all hyper in the yard, eh? Anyway, this dog, at first, you know, I'm looking and he's looking at me, and, you know, we're mean mugging each other, you know, we're mean mugging, and I'm like, is this dog, like, you know, he's okay? And she goes, yeah. Anyway, once he got to feel me out, right? Next thing you know, and this dog, like a big, like a Great Dane, like not quite the size of a Great Dane, but he must have had some Great Dane in him, because he's a big dog, right? You know, and he's like leaning up against my thigh, and he's like got himself glued right onto me because he doesn't want his leash on. And I'm looking at this woman. I'm like, what's this dog doing? Like, does this dog do stuff like this? And she goes, no, never does that. He just like clinging on to me for dear life, people. You know, and my heart goes out to these people, and my heart goes out to the dog, and you know, and Sierra's asking me for this house and for the bedroom, and I can't give it to her, people. We all know if I let her stay in that room, somebody's going to call MCFD, and they're going to use that as an excuse to take the kids out of the house. You know, so, like, how can the government possibly ask me to look after my daughter when they use her against me? You know, not to mention that we're all worn out, people. We're all worn out from the community dysfunction that we have been having to live with for so long that, you know, we don't even know where our own lives are going anymore, right? So maybe they'll let me come by their house and just kind of do a little video in regards to how 4 suites, whether it's just an old duplex being shut down, or whether it's a medium-sized monster home that they want to tear down, that's perfectly good. The house itself is perfectly good. That would be like that house over there. Have a video on it, which was across the street from the little house, right? The house was fine. There was nothing wrong with the house. Outside of, they wanted to tear down the house so that they could build condominiums or whatever, suites for the elderly, because that's the good thing to do. But they forget to tell you that 10% within that population, within that housing complex, is going to be specifically targeted through the healthcare system for their assets. And they're only going to take 10% because then this way, the general public, I didn't have the power in. I just was going on battery, so that's why. So yeah, you know, they're only going to take 10% because then this way, the other 90% doesn't notice it. They don't feel threatened by it, right? They don't feel the need to protect themselves, right? Because they don't see the danger. If 50% of those elderly in that complex were treated like Uncle John, the other 50% would be going into their cupboard drawers looking for weapons to protect themselves from the nonsense that's going on because of the corruption within the public union sector, aka government employees that have access to tax dollars to commit white-collar crime, to launder money, to steal money. So, this board director, you know, he can break the ceiling, people. The glass ceiling. he can jump the sound barrier. The only thing that I can really do at this point is put on my Marax hat, maybe do an interview with these people. I even said, well, I have an available room. What are you guys going to do? Where are you going to go? Because they got to be out of this place in 4 days from now. They have absolutely nowhere to go. But I said, I don't know, though. We're all stressed out and shit. And I'd have to move everything out of Auntie Shemay's room, and that would kind of defeat the purpose. They said, no, don't worry. But I still feel like I should, speak on their behalf. I really do. I feel like I should document this so that after this board director settles down with being a president, the thing is, like I said, he knows people that can do things in terms of like property developers. The God, he knows the gods in the community, right? And maybe at some point, I don't know, we need housing that is specifically built for people that can only afford so much to pay. So there has to be allowances in there in terms of some of the money has to come from the community. Some of the money has to come from the province. Some of the money has to come from the federal government. And I would suspect some of the money should come, or at least some land, something, from the city. But you're getting into politics, which I know nothing of when it comes to that kind of stuff. But this fella, he knows those types of people, right? And hopefully there won't be no criminal activity going on. Although he'll be coming across people who are corrupt, right? But he'll do a much better job than I'll ever do, because I can't go back, people. I can't go back. I can't even go forward in my life. I can't go back, and I can't even go forward. And where I'm going forward, like I said, I'll be walking by my own house with my own buggy saying, hello, hello, is there any housing? Is there any housing? Right? Is there any housing? And at what price? Okay, so before I start my day here, I listen to this shit every day now. You can see what they're fucking doing here. And you know what? I'm telling you, you heard it from me. They're selling all these little condos to all these old people, 55 and older, that want to retire. This is the investment wave of the future. Multi-pack and stack fucking housing, right? Where all the little bungalows on this side of the street are being torn down as those people that are being basically forced out of their homes one way or another, whether the taxes are going higher or maybe they just don't want to be a little home between monster homes, or they're getting pressure from their family or whatever. They go off and sell their home if they're not being medically kidnapped and locked up forever, and then forced to sell their home. And then they go off and they buy one of these little things. Let me remind you people, 10%. 10% will be like Uncle John, where they're going to lose their assets by being illegally detained, illegally drugged, and the cycle will continue. I just want to put that 10% on this fucking little building that they're building here. 10%. That's all it takes. That's all they take, people, is 10%. Because if they take 10%, whether it's 10% of organs being harvested illegally, or whether it's 10% of old people being medically kidnapped, right? They think the general public doesn't notice it. That's what it is. Well, I'm here to remind you, 10% of the individuals buying these properties will disappear into the abyss like Uncle John. Speaking of an Uncle John.
What?
Okay, so over there was that little walnut tree that they came after we plucked off the leaves. Andre and I, we came back to rescue that little plant that was there. Remember I said I was going to come back and rescue the little plant?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we came back to rescue the little plant. The little plant was gone, and they had taken the walnut tree and they had ripped it out, people. Well, we knew that was going to happen because they don't want a walnut tree growing there. So anyway, as you can see, I was just over there talking to those guys, giving them the history on this property in terms of karma, because they seem to think that they're doing a good thing, all right? They seem to think that they're building an old folks home. And I explained to them exactly what that 10% means, and that, you know, they should be thankful that somebody is actually standing up and speaking on behalf of the elderly, where that 10%, again, are being flushed out of their homes, right? Or whatever, being moved into these stack and pack environments, right? And then they're not going to take the whole 100 and lock them up illegally and, you know, drug them and take their assets. Hell no, that would cause an uprising. They're only going to target 10%, people. 10%. Because when you're doing 10% in terms of millions and billions of dollars, when it's laundered money through the province of British Columbia, Canada, right, you only need 10%. So anyway, that's a little house now. Nothing little about it. Just think when it was little, and I had it for that year, even with the mutiny and all. Not only were 9 people living in it, but half of Surrey took shelter in it. And now this is here, and I don't know. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, Andre spotted some good rocks. That's how I ended up talking to those guys over there, explaining to them how they came in. Well, they didn't come in, but some crew came in and cut down 110 trees in a freaking day.
Yeah.
So anyway, Andre says, hold on. Andre says, you know, there's some good rocks there, Nana.
No, I'll say it. No one get left behind.
Yeah, and what's that?
Really? Sorry?
Yeah, what is it? No rock gets left behind?
Yep.
No rock gets left behind. Yeah, because when we did those leaves, he said the same thing about the leaves. So we have to write a little chapter on the leaves. No leaves get left behind, even though not even a week later, they came out and ripped out the tree. So, you know, it's a good thing that we took the leaves when we had the opportunity.
What about that big hole over there?
Yeah, well, we were going to come back and get some dirt, but whatever. And then anyway, now it's new chapter is no rocks left behind.
Or no dirt get left behind too.
No dirt gets left behind. Okay, so now I'm in the yard. Just showing you what I've been doing. You can see I've been trimming back things. Last year I never got a chance to do it. So this year I'm really making an effort to do that. Right, obviously enriching the dirt. My mint took, right? I'm saving these. Sorry, wandering eye. Right. Ooh. I prefer the leaves more green, but I dry them and I'm making ink powder. Right. You can see lots of them already shed. Right. I'm starting to sift through my dirts here. Looking pretty nice on this way. Spent a day out in the front. See? Right. Oh, that's kind of nice. Right? It looks better when you trim things back a bit, right? And then I want to work on getting this all sifted through. There's Sky, right? Emptying out these buckets. Yeah, you'll see me there with the, and then obviously, you know, trying to, I'm not going to get the pond in per se, but But I definitely want to build in a few more shelving, right? Got up in here, you can see, cut things back, right? Yeah, so that's, it's not raining now. Now it's windy. I should be outside, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to come out now. I think I'm going to phone up Tisha and find out what time she's coming back with Amari. And then maybe I will, because it's not raining, right? And just get on with it. Hold on. Okay, so now that that little interlude is over, this is my sewing table, people. Right, there's the box that's going to Kitimat. I have to get up into my machine here. So I got to clear out this stuff. Right? So I can alter this. Because my daughter is wearing this outfit. The back is too big. So after I'm done this, because it stopped raining outside, as you can see when I walked to the store with Andre. I hope this camera doesn't fall. Anyway, it stopped raining. And Tisha's going to be back here at about 4:30, bringing Amari home. And the purpose of the exercise for her to take Amari from me for a day or two or whatever it is so that I can go outside. So as soon as I'm done this, I'm going back outside. And then by the time I come in, because I'm lifting heavy stuff, and it's non-stop move, and I'm going to be filthy, right? Because I'm going to be moving dirt from the front to the back, and I'm going to fill up my old cold frame. And then after my cold frame is full, then I'm going to take my little grape seed plants that I started seeds with, from the red grapes that were given to me, not this year, but the year before. And I've just got little seedlings, right? I'm going to stick them in there because I'd like a little red grape vine there. I'm going to attempt to do that. So that's probably what I'm going to work on. Carry a few buckets back and forth, and fill that up as best as I can. And then probably get into the pond and start chiseling out one area to build in another shelf. But before we do that, we're going to do this. Hold on. See, people, I can't even really sew. Not like the good old days, not like I used to. My eyes are too gummy. They're too moving around, doing whatever. I don't get to see the eye specialist until February. I went on June 2nd, asked to see the eye specialist. I don't get to see her until February 20th on my birthday. I go in 2 weeks earlier for their random tests, whatever tests. And I can almost guarantee that after I see the eye doctor, I'll be coming back to you telling you that I feel like somebody's taking their thumbs and pushing it into my eyes, which adds more pressure to my head, because the pressure is already there. You know, when I'm doing these videos with Shimei, and you hear that my computer in the background running, well, you take that sound and you multiply it by 50-fold, and that's what my ears are like. And then when I wake up in the morning, it's 1,000-fold, people. I go into a bathtub full of water, and I'll put my head under the water to try and drown out what's in my head, thinking, well, you know, you're underwater, you shouldn't hear. But the thing is, what happens is when I get my head under the water, I hear, and it's like pulsating, which it's pain-related. A lot of what's going on is pain-related, people. Where the pain is coming from, I don't know. I just know that a lot of it's pain-related. Probably still has something to do with my teeth. And when I asked the dentist to pull out my 2 root canals, get rid of them, he didn't want to. He says, no, you don't want to do it. Blah, blah, blah. I think this is just a straight stitch. So I'll never know. I have to live with it. It's either that or it's a tumor in my head, but it's benign, or it's growing very slowly. It's something pressure. It's not directly related to, it's not simple tetanitis or whatever you call that stuff. It's more than that, people. And of course, as time goes by, my eyes get worse. Right now I'm kind of vibrating because, what do you call it? From all that heavy work, lifting shit that I did yesterday. But as soon as I'm done this, I'm going to go outside and do it again. Alright, because I want, as much tidied up as I can get before the rains come. And, yeah. I don't even have strength to push this through. Yeah. She's going to model this for me with her boyfriend in his costume. And she's going to do it, I guess, through Facebook. And then she's going to forward me the video. I suppose I can copy it onto my computer and convert it over and upload it onto YouTube. And, we're already talking about it being flagged because it's a sexy outfit. Right? Anytime I put nice stuff on YouTube, I get flagged. She's saying, yeah, the trolls will come in saying that I'm pimping my daughter. And I said, well, I guess you can add Alex to the list because I guess I'll be pimping Alex. Because he's going to be in there with his costume. Tisha just likes to wear pretty clothes. She's like me. I used to be that way. I have a closet full of clothes I never wear, people. Because, 1, I can't get to them, and 2, they're, I'm a farmer, right now in my life. When I'm not doing other things. I like my old faff better. It has an extra feed dog from the top, which when you're working with sequins, it pulls through. This is not pulling through. It's not even doing a back stitch on me. I'm not impressed with this. But my faff is not working because there's something wrong with the clutch. So I don't know how I'm going to sew sequins on this machine because it's not running them through. She'll probably want it a little tighter. So maybe I'll do that just to be on the safe side because it will stretch out anyway. Alright, and then so after I'm done this, I'm just going to go get my dirty clothes on and make myself another coffee. And I'm going out in the back. Well, in the front. And I'm just going to work out there for, at least 4 hours. 4 or 5 hours. And then when I come back in, obviously I have to unwind because I'm like, right? Because it's mind over matter when it comes to this yard. And then I'll have a bath. I still have to do my dishes. So I probably won't get back into the sewing room, aka War Room 2, until tomorrow. But I have all weekend to pack up what I want to pack up. And that's what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do. And then next week, I have to walk to the post office, so I'll make plans to go with Andre.
Me?
Yeah, we'll go to the post office next week. And we'll put a couple of envelopes in the mail.
Why?
And the box, because I have some things I want to mail off.
Okay.
And we'll go buy some apples and oranges or something. Andre and I, we like to go for... Only this time we'll bring the buggy. Nana doesn't like having to carry home 5 bags on each arm. I want corn. Okay, yeah, there's like corn, three for $1.50. So you end up buying 9 corn. That's like a lot of corn to carry home on top of everything else that you buy that day. So for sure, remind me, we have to bring the buggy with us when we go.
Okay. Why do you keep so much of this? Bubble wrap.
Because I send things out in the mail and sometimes I need it. No, you can't pop it. He wants to pop it. I don't let him pop it.
You can't pop.
No, you're not allowed to pop it because that's for mailing stuff out. We don't know what else I'm going to mail out in the future. I'm going to put those in, and after I'm done packing, I'm going to put those in Auntie Shemai's room and save them for something else another date because you don't know what Nana's going to do in 6 months to a year from now.
That's a weird machine.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's not going back. I don't know why it's not going backwards. Or maybe, oh no, that's a different foot. What am I doing here? Maybe I'm doing it wrong. This is backwards. Oh, there we go. I don't even know how to use my own sewing machine, people.
You used to.
Yes, I used to. I used to know. Before I go, I want to show you something. Hold on. No, not you. I'll show you in a minute. Just hold on. Hold on.
Maybe can you buy some bubble wrap someday and I can pop it?
No. Bubble wrap is expensive, Andre. It's not a toy. Look at this. See, I gotta change these glasses. I can't wear these glasses. These are my prescription glasses.
What about those blue ones? You remember those blue ones now? Those ones you can see pretty good.
Yeah, they're like the dollar store ones, so.
I'll go get them, okay?
Look at that. Guess who did that, people? I did. A long, long time ago. Do you see that? That's all beads. Like, who does that? I sewed that all by hand. I don't know what I had in mind.
Here you go.
I was doing stuff with the kids in the courtyard.
The blue glasses.
When I used to live at Gateway Place. So, that was one of the projects that I started with the kids out there. All right.
Okay.
What do you think?
Can you see better now? No? No?
Okay, I'm going outside now. Finish this little bra.
Wait, you're going outside now?
In a minute, I just gotta finish this. I just have to finish this. Hold on. Okay, what are you doing? Tell the story first.
I'm going to pour out the water for Nana.
You're gonna pour out the water for Nana.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like one of those moments.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Just give me a minute. I think you need a bigger push.
Give it a good drop. Let gravity work for you.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right.
Still some in there?
Yeah, a little bit. I can see you're using your critical thinking skills. All right. Let gravity work with you. All right. Look at that, people. You know?
Oh my God, a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more, eh? All right. It worked. Okay, you can leave it like that
No,
now.
it still has some.
Oh, you want a bit more, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's because you're human. If you didn't have little aches and pains, you wouldn't be alive. He watches me do this stuff. just don't quit until you get it, right? It's just a little heavy. That thing is like packed full of wet clay and dirt. Yeah, Andre, you're stronger than you think.
Still some?
Yeah, he's discovering his strength.
Wait, what's that? I caught something.
What did you find?
caught a fish.
You got gold. That's a treasure. All right, 5 cents. That's 5 cents. That's a can. You can rinse it off. 5 cents. Say yay!
Yeah.
All right.
5 cents.
Okay. It's now on.
Okay, people, so I'm just trying to get up here because I'm stuck now.
Can you see?
Yep.
But you look in where? In the
In
lens.
the lens? In the lens?
Yeah, you're talking to the people. You're not talking to yourself. You're talking to the people.
Yeah, I am. So I'm just trying to get out of here right now. You see? Come on. See what I'm doing? I'm trying to get out of here. Wait, I know. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Broke my hands. Ooh.